Multimedia personality, comedic commentator, songwriter, recording artist, spiritual leader, and actor. Catch Larry Reid on the BET Plus original series Kingdom Business and on American Gangsta Trap Queens. Streaming online at BET.plus. Patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. Let me tell you why you should join. You will gain access to master-level teaching and coaching, which includes Sunday morning prayer calls with Dr. Reid, Wednesday night breakdown with Dr. Reid, the prophets and care pastors, divine partnerships and networking with a like-minded community, exclusive content, which includes daily posts, ranging in topics that are too expansive to share on Dr. Reid's public platform, including money, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, relationships, prophecy, prayer, and more. Become a member today by logging on to patreon.com/Larry Reid Live today. Join with people from around the world praying 15 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by calling 667-770-1402, code 974-8029#.
Without blackness, America would not be able to be America. So we must stop deleting blackness from everything that happens in America, because there is nothing that is existing in America without black bodies, black hands, black talent, black energy. So the prophetic in America has been keen and precise for years in the black community. And it's time now for us to recognize who in our community we all look to as the master in the prophetic. And that is E. Bernard Jordan, who is a black man. And that is extremely important. No more deleting blackness in America. America's black prophet of God is E. Bernard Jordan.
Stay connected to Larry Reid Live. Take a moment and like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube page and hit the bell. Text LRL to 404-999-7527. That's the words LRL to 404-999-7527. And get notified when we go live. Become a member of Patreon. Log on to patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. Sign up, then download the Patreon app and turn on your notifications. Get connected today. Are you ready to level up? Join Larry D. Reid for the Reformation Experience, Mystics in Miami, July 14th through the 16th in Miami, Florida. This is a Patreon member-only event. Register now by visiting patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. The Reformation Experience, Mystics in Miami, July 14th through the 16th. For more information, log on to thereformationexperience.com.
We're about to have a conversation. Hello, my name is Larry D. Reid, and I'm the host of Larry Reid Live, your most favorite digital entertainment news and talk show that is out here on the social media streets. And I want you right now to let everybody know that we are on and we are about to have the conversation absolutely. But on tonight, I have my mentor, my spiritual father, my personal prophet and coach is going to be with us on today. And this conversation that we're going to be having on today is going to be extremely important. Now, this is what I want you guys to do. To gather all of your focus and all of your attention and zero in on this live for about the next hour. We're going to be here sharing, and then we're going to move into Patreon. Now, this is a great day to make a decision that you are going to reshape the rest of your year by having a prophet in your ear. You got to qualify the person that is in your ear, even when it comes to your friends, your family, and those that you spend time with, text time and phone time, because these people that are speaking in your ear have the power to influence your actions, your outcome for the rest of this year. And what we are going to attempt to do tonight is what we have been doing for the last 2 years. We are about to enter into a conversation with your most trusted name in prophecy, who happens to be my coach and my mentor. And he is coming on, he's already in the green room to have a conversation with me about what is happening in our world. Now, if you are a patron, you have already sort of um, given us an outline for the way that you want this conversation to go. So I'm going to bring as much as that as possible into the conversation. But patrons, do not fear, because soon as I hit the button off here, we're starting out 7:07. It's them sevens and 11's been showing up for us over the last week. I'm going to move out of here and straight into Patreon. So it's a great time, you guys, to decide to become a part of Patreon. And the way that you can become a part of Patreon right now is going to patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. You've been seeing this advertisement every time you come over here to talk with me at the kitchen table, and you have not made a decision to sign up. This is a great time to sign up right now, because we're going to move from the live stream and go right over there to the Patreon community. So go ahead and tell all your family and all of your friends that Larry Reid Live is on, and his mentor, the most trusted name in prophecy, is on. We have walked you through the pandemic. From March of 2020, we started doing lives. We were together on this platform prior, but we began to do prophetic work. And we began to point the way that you should take and the way that you should go, that is most prosperous for you to move through this pandemic with gains and not losses. We were not trying to make the losses minimal, although that did happen, but we were trying to bring you into a gaining period when everybody else were frantic and nervous and were struggling with pivoting. We pointed you in the right direction, and we guided you through your pivot. We've done it here on this platform, and then in our own communities, Zoe Ministries. If you're part of Zoe Ministries, put it in the chat. And if you're a part of MBN Network, you're in my Patreon, put it in the chat. You are guided in a specific way. And as a result, you have been increased financially, mentally, emotionally. Even your health is better because you got the right person in your ear. Now, this is what I want to say at the top of this call. There are a whole lot of people carrying the titles of prophets and a whole lot of pastors and a whole leap of people that say that they're leading the body of Christ. But you know, I only can speak for the ones that I know, and Bishop Jordan happens to be one of those that I know pretty well. And when it comes to doing what is right, living right, loving people, I don't think he's perfect, but he's near about. I count on my hands about 2 or 3 times. I say, okay, now you a little out of order. But that's just human stuff and nothing serious. You know? That's right. We honest with each other. He'll tell me too, and I get to tell him too, and we still love each other. It's just so wonderful. And that's how it should be. But this man is really saved and really, really, really is a person of order and has a more than way above the par when it comes to the character out of the people that I know. And I've seen him in every situation when you should cuss and cut. You know, I've seen him in quite a few situations and still he come out with loads of integrity. So this is someone we can listen to tonight. It is the person I listen to. It is the person when I do not know what to do, aside from the Holy Ghost and Jesus, God, and them. and calling my mom and my daddy and whatever, I call this man and I say, this is the situation. I want to know what you think. And he always give me the advice as if I have a door to choose another option. But I don't do that. I have a couple of times. But I don't do I don't do that. I typically listen and say, you know what, this makes better sense. He's got the experience in this area. Let me walk down this here road right here. And it pans out all right. Yeah. So I'm bringing him to the platform here, and you get to eavesdrop on our conversation. At certain times, we will be talking directly to you, but we're going to move from this main platform over to Patreon. I want you to right now to go ahead and make that decision. You may say, I'm going to sign up tonight, but I'm going to cancel it before August 1st. That's fine. But you don't need to miss the conversation that we're going to continue to have in Patreon tonight. And while you're over there all month, you might as well meet me on Wednesday with the prophets and on Sunday morning with my community at 8 a.m. I promise you, you're going to be glad that you did. If you received a text on Sunday morning and you have signed up, this is the reason why you need to sign up now. How can I sign up? Text LRL right now. LRL to 404-999-7527. Text right now. LRL, just 3 letters, to 404-999-7572. If you do that right now, not only will you know when I am on, but you will also get those exclusive peeks that we give you into our community. And we did it this past Sunday. Now, how many of you got the text this past Sunday morning and I sent you a YouTube link and told you to come on over there to Patreon? If you did, I know you're glad that you did. Lord, is that First Lady Deborah Jordan in the chat? Now, First Lady, now I've been asking you Overton and Overton. I need for you to come on the show. And you keep telling me yes, but it still ain't happened. I'm gonna text you afterwards because we need to get this situated. Is that her?
That's Deborah Bell.
Deborah Bell. Oh, somebody said it was Deborah. Hello, Lady Jordan. You know, folk be coming here with all sorts and kinds of names. But anyway, I want you guys to set yourself for this conversation that we're about to have, and I'm going to go ahead and.
Oh no, she said yes.
She is in here.
Yeah, she's on YouTube.
Oh, she is on YouTube. She said yes, it will happen. I put it up there so it'll be done in front of everybody, where she can't run from it. Now, this is what she said. Now, you see this? She said yes, it will happen, and that's her real YouTube page. So all of the women that's been asking for Lady Jordan to come on here and have a conversation. The first conversation that we're going to have, because she's the elder in the prophetic in the first family of prophecy. She started prophesying before Bishop Jordan. Bishop Jordan get all the shine because he done told everybody blood type, everybody eye color, and all that kind of stuff. But Bishop, Pastor, Assistant Master Prophet, Pastor Deborah Jordan, is the one she's the one that been prophesying first. So before we get into that conversation, we want to talk about what it is to be the wife of Master Prophet and the eldest of the first family of prophecy. And basically, let me tell you something. Ain't nothing going on in Zoe ministry and she don't know nothing about it. She's the one that's calling the shots and running things. Yeah, that's right. Bishop Jordan will have something on his hand as he didn't have Pastor Deborah Jordan. So she really sitting in that seat of power. And when I say power, I'm talking about the checkbook. Trying to get $2 from Zoe and she don't know about it. It's not happening. Nope, it's not happening. I don't care if you went and bought toilet paper and want a reimbursement. You're not getting no reimbursement. She don't know nothing about it. It's not going to happen. All right, so you see it. I done highlighted. She ain't running from it. It's going to happen. It is going to be something really, really, really dope when it does take place. You guys, if you are watching right now, tell me what city and what state you're watching from. Facebook, go ahead and hit the like, and YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button. And we are, hey, Morrisville, North Carolina. My church was located there before we shifted into online. So we are about to have the conversation absolutely as soon as Kendall stopped doing whatever the hell he doing on the back end of this. Here. Let me run the show. Thank you very much. Say what?
Erica sent a private.
I can't hear what you saying.
Erica sent us a message.
Okay, all right. But ain't no excuse for you to mess up my show. Text her. All right, so Bishop is here and looking debonair. So we are about to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you, for those of you that do not know, my coach, I say spiritual pappy, spiritual father, the person I go to when I am in between and in betwixt. I go to this here man right here, and he's here right now with us, and we're about to have the conversation. I introduce to you the Archbishop Bernard Jordan, Master Prophet, America's black prophet of God to the whole wide world, your most trusted name in prophecy. Hey, Bishop.
God bless you, Larry. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, and it's good to have you here. It's been a few months.
You know what? It has been a while, and I'm a year older now, and so it feels good here at 64.
4, 5, 6, 10, the 10, this the number 10. Okay. Bishop, the celebration was great. A lot of love was shown to you. I saw your entire family that was there. How did it feel receiving all of that love?
It feels good because, every year of life that you enter into life, Larry, you can either choose to upgrade it, keep it the way it is the same, or you can retire it. And if you don't begin to do a reflection of each year of your life, it can reshape your future, that you're living your life either by default or by design. So during the 90 days before my birthday, I go into a period of deep reflection. And the celebration kind of clears me of the people I need to keep in my life, and then the people I need to delete out of my life. You see, there are those that are keepers and those that are deleters. We made up a new word. You want to delete what does not grow you. You want to delete what does not celebrate you. And one of the things that you'll gather from that, I like something that Dr. Mike Murdoch said years ago, decades ago. He said, and I remember one time we were talking, he says, Jordan, you got to go where you're celebrated and not where you're tolerated. Most people keep people around them that is just a toleration. They're just tolerating. But you've got to begin to find yourselves in circles that will celebrate you. Because, like this, iron sharpens iron, but iron does not sharpen wood.
So keep people around you that is very conscious and aware of who you are and your contribution. That is important as relates to your own wellness.
Most definitely mental wellness and everything else. Because I need people that is around me that can see me. See, if you can't see me, then I'm just a piece of crap. You'll step over me. But if you can see me, in passing by, you may say hello, or you may say, excuse me. What does it feel like to be in the earth or in relationships, but you're invisible because they cannot see you? If they cannot see you, then they cannot hear you. If they can't hear you, they cannot feel you. And so when you are walking through lives, how many people have you helped in life that was only there for the help, but they never saw Larry?
Oh, Jesus.
you may have done for them, but they never heard Larry. They only heard that they had a need that needed to be quenched, but they never got who you were. And this can be a lot of times in pastoral abuse. I know a lot of people talk about church abuse, but you have pastoral abuse where do you see your leader? Do you see your pastor? Do you do you hurt when he hurts? Do you hurt
Mm.
when she hurt? Can you discern their pain? Can you discern their moments of celebration? Can you discern their moments of grief? You know, and we'll walk through life with people that can see you, but then there'll be many people that will be invisible to you, that will
Mm.
not ever be able to see you. And if they can't see you, then they cannot get you.
Keeping people around that see you, get you, hear you, feel you is a gift that you give to yourself. You have the responsibility of making sure that you have that kind of circle around you. It's interesting. We had a conversation. We didn't mean to start out like this, but I shared this in Patreon. I share it here. Um, I have always struggled with seeing myself the way that others see me, possibly even the way that God see me. And
Mm,
one of the things that you helped me with was coaching me out of this lens that come from poverty and impoverished thinking, trauma, and all these things, and really begin to show up as who I am. Somebody asked me, they said, how can you have the courage to sit in this seat and say and do the things that literally tens of thousands of people have a problem with you doing, and you can do it as if it's nothing? I've always had this ability to lock in to what my assignment is, but not always lock in to who the assignment was given to, and so to throw myself away and commit 100% to the assignment. I mean, tunnel vision and never think about my own wellness or my relationship with myself. And I began to change that a while ago. But recently I had something to happen that revealed to me, oh, there's still some of this stuff around
mhm.
that you have not dealt with. You asked me a question. You said, who would Larry Reid be if he could not help people? And who would be, and when you ask me that question, because I am a real student, so I'll be writing and taking notes when Bishop be talking, and we just should be shooting the breeze. And my question that I wrote in my notes was, who would be around me right now if I had not ever helped them? And I realized that I am 100% surrounded by people who I have helped. Now, I'm not talking about my family and these people who are proven friends, but it's about outside of that. And I said, I'm going to have to start, because my calling, you said this, you said, it's as if God sent you out of the heaven into the earth as a gift to do nothing but give to others. And I believe that. But that awareness calls me to qualify people differently and qualify situations differently, because I'm going to always feel like I'm supposed to help, but
Right.
I'm not supposed to.
And this is why a coach is important, because you can have something called giving fatigue. You can be fatigued and given. And this is why self care is important, even in mental health. So, finding and locating your authentic self, Larry, is a gift that many of us as preachers, it took me probably a good 35 years you know, to find my authentic self. I was in hiding for at least 30, 35 years of my life.
Mm,
And what I mean by hiding, there were certain things that I wanted to read, but I couldn't let other people know that I was reading it. There were
mm,
certain things that I wanted to participate in and practice, but I couldn't practice out in open. There was certain things that I wanted to experience, I couldn't experience. I couldn't be that authentic self. I mean, for a while, I wore a suit every day. I would not wear sneakers.
me
Um,
too.
I, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I walked around, I was walking around in a space that more or less pleased people and pleased the church, but then I had to find the authentic self. And
Mm,
what this is really a conversation about is that how do I find my authentic self? And that starts out with self reflection. I think one of the things that we begin to see when Moses wanted to see God's face, he says, "No man can see my face and live." So Moses, I'm going to have you look at my back parts. The
Mm.
back parts, God wants you to find him in reflection.
Hmm.
And so when you look back over the journey of your life, from the time you became a born again believer, and probably even before then, you were always helping an underdog.
Oh God.
You, you found yourself. See, so how do I find Larry? By looking in the rearview mirror.
Oh wow.
And once I understand what's coming behind me in the rearview mirror, then I can take you and move you forward to the future destiny.
Hmm.
Isn't it interesting that Jesus, um, earthly dad, was Joseph? And what kind of work did Joseph do? He was a carpenter.
Carpenter. Hmm.
Why would God put him in a household where Joseph would be a carpenter? Because he knew his ultimate destiny would be that he would be nailed to wood. My destiny is connected to a tree. So your father is going to be handling trees every day because what you're called to is already sitting in your reflection.
Hmm.
So when we begin to look at self reflection, there is contemplation. So everyone's birthday should be a sacred moment because that is your birthday. But let's talk about your born again moment. What will that year begin to look like in your life? Who were you carrying last year that will not be carried this year? And who is it that you will pick up this year that was not picked up last year? Because we are always on a journey of self reflection. And if there is no growth, then you are in retardation. You've been left back in life. There are a lot of
Mm.
people that are 60 years old in age, but only 60 years old on earth, but only 20 years old in their spiritual and mental development because they have not advanced from their last assignment.
Mm. Whoa.
Yes.
That is amazing. And you taught me that. You taught me that. I said, Bishop, I was listening to you talk. And so I said, so every birthday you qualify people. And I
Oh,
shared this with Latre, her birthday just passed. And she was doing this. And I said, you're doing what my mentor teach. She said, I planned the birthday party and I invited certain people, and there's some people that didn't show up. She said, so I'm moving these people to the side. And you were the first person I met that said that. And when I tell you, when I look back at my birthday, 2021, 2022, 2023, every year, there was one or two I gave an excuse for, but I didn't, I don't even anymore. If I see your movements are not the same as mine are towards you, okay, then I close you out for that year. You're left in the age I was last time. Now my solar return has came, and I'm not carrying you in my future.
so Larry, that's good. And watch this. And you don't always have to just show up in person. See, personhood, if I could put it that way, is not the only way to show up, but you show up in word, right? There was a number of people that gave me a word on that day. I'm not here, but count on me for X.
Hmm.
Count on me to, I got a dinner date with you in the future on this date. I've got to take you out. I cannot be because of X, but I'm giving my word. And that brings you to a place that who you are is word, right? Who I
Hmm.
am is word, right? And so, what each year should do as we begin to start looking at this from self reflection is identifying your value. Are the people that are in your life have the same values as you?
Oh God.
See, and when you start identifying your values, you look at the principles that are in their life, the beliefs that are in their life. Like,
Yes.
for instance, when I listen to you, I listen to you advocating for a church that will widen their cross.
Yes.
Okay. So you've used this platform to begin to reach across some places, if I can say it this way, of the leopards of today's society. And the leopards of today's society, leopards are those that are considered to be unclean. If
Mm-hmm.
a woman was on a menstrual cycle in Judaism, she was considered unclean. She was not supposed to be in the temple, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there were certain things. So the woman with the issue of blood should have never touched Jesus according to the law because she
Mm-hmm.
was unclean. So so you got to imagine what she might have felt when he said, "Who touched me?"
Yeah.
Fear must have gripped this
Right.
woman. She didn't start praise dancing.
Yeah.
She moved into a place of fear because did he just discern that I am unclean? So
Yeah.
the leopards of our day, God watches the church to see how do you handle the unclean of your day. And
Whoa.
so you've advocated for, you've taken a stand to really educate the community about the
Yeah.
LGBTQIA question mark community to bring some conversation around that and you and some others. But one of the things is that why do you feel this passion in this direction?
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what it is to be marginalized. You
Yep.
know what it is to be preached on across a pulpit. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, anyone that is beat up upon across a pulpit, you somehow have a heart for that because you cannot heal what you do not feel.
Right. And the main thing, but you cannot hear what you cannot feel. The main thing that I think that drives me with this, because the way that I'm wired, I'm sort of hardened. So you can preach on me, talk about me, and I'm like, okay. But what got me, humbled me, and sort of drove me in this direction was my own participating in hurting and harming and not knowing that's what I was doing. And once I realized it through education, reading books, my own healing in my own trauma and working through stuff, I'm like, dog, I didn't know I was doing that. And then I began to look at Jesus different, because all of this happened around the same time. So I always looked at God, Jesus, as that clean, light, white power and force that was moving in me and upon me to make me more like him. And I needed to address everything in me that was not right. But after I went through a particular change, and the trigger was in my marriage in 99, things began to shift because I began to look at Jesus as love. I had done something I didn't have any business doing. It wasn't even that terrible. But I went for 5 o'clock in the morning prayer like normal, laid on my face. And I had been going for like a week because I had done something, but I won't saying nothing. I was still going to my prayer spot at 5 o'clock, but I wasn't saying anything because I didn't know what to say, because I wasn't right. And
Right.
normally I'm right. So when I laid on my face, this was the fifth or sixth day, I heard God say this to me. He said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, I don't even know what to say. I done messed up. And I felt him turn towards me as if I had been on one of those consecrations and I'm just high in the spirit and laying before him and we just communing. That's how close he got to me. And I was like, wait a minute, back up. And he was like, what? Why do you say? Why are you telling me to back up? I have done that. He said, I already know that. He said, I forgive you. He said, come to me. In that experience, and I've talked about it so much, Shamako, Latrice, Lisa, all them watching from way back then, because it changed my entire ministry. That was the beginning of me becoming what you see sitting here in this chair today, because I saw another side of God. What I was taught was the judgment, the holy, 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 be right, be right, be right, be right, clean yourself. And that created some weird kind of view of God and connection to where I qualified our relationship by how clean and holy I lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's not and it's not by our righteousness, it's his righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the Bible says our righteousness as a filthy rag. And when we understand what that actually means in the Hebrew, that filthy rag is what a woman would use in her menstrual cycle, which means that it is blood, it's a covenant that is an abomination, right? It
Mm-hmm.
is something that is blood that is not usable.
Yeah.
So that is what our righteousness looked like. And I was once that person that I was self-righteous, holier than thou. And I pride myself because of the denomination I grew up in. It was strict holiness. I mean, we didn't even play ball. It was a sin to go into a movie theater because you did not sit in the seat of the scornful. I mean, you weren't able to take medication. Listen, it was what it was, and it served us and put a practice and discipline in us.
It
In
did.
us. But I will say this: when that is your lens, then that's the way God deals with you and the way you deal with God. But when your lens begins to open,
Oh,
Larry,
yes.
we'll begin to move from a narrow cross to a broad cross.
Yeah.
And someone the other day was upset because we just got out of Gay Pride Month, and there was people all upset about the rainbow,
Mhm.
and so in the process of their upset, I said to them, I says, why don't you find a God that cross is not as narrow?
Mm.
I says, the Jesus I know
Mm.
has a cross that everyone can
Yeah.
get under.
Yeah.
Now you can't go under that cross over there because you've been baptized in the wrong formula, so that you can't get to
Wow.
that cross.
Right.
You can't go in that cross over there because you don't speak in tongues. You definitely can't go in this cross over here because you drink wine every now and then. You
Yeah.
can't go to this cross over here because your skirt is not long enough. You
Yeah.
cannot get on the cross over here because you allow women to preach in your church.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
when you have a God with a narrow cross, you have a narrow life and a narrow theology. But
And
I love
yeah.
that God that says, whosoever will, let him.
Right. And this is the thing, one of the things that stick out to me when your cross is that narrow, then so is your reach.
Yes.
But when your lens begin to expand and you understand, and I say this all the time, I don't expect everybody to be a Christian, and I don't expect everybody to say the name of Jesus, to be baptized in this name, or what have you. But I do believe that everybody's looking for him.
Yes.
Everybody. I believe everybody's looking for him. So I don't want to have a narrow cross because I know the reason for the cross
Yes.
is the exact thing everybody looking for.
Most definitely. And the dying thief was on the cross, and Jesus said to him, this day ye shall be with me in paradise. Notice, now there's some theologies that has a real problem with that,
They do.
but you cannot denounce that, because that was one of the last words that Jesus said on the cross.
Yeah.
He wanted you to know, no matter how bad your sin is, or watch this, or how late you are in life to reaching me,
Mm.
my cross is broad enough that even you too, while you're dying on your deathbed salvation, the dying thief was with Jesus in paradise.
Wow. A lot of people have a problem with that. have a lot of problem with that. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, are you enjoying? We haven't even got to what we're going to be talking about, but I'm about to ask Bishop a series of questions, but are you already enjoying eavesdropping on our conversation. If you are, put in the chat that I am enjoying. Go ahead right now, sign up to Patreon, patreon.com/Larry Reid Live, because we are going to be going live in Patreon. We're only going to be out here for a space of time. I need everybody on Facebook to take a moment right now and hit like. If you are on YouTube, please take a moment right now and hit like so that you guys can help us reach all of the people who have subscribed to the channel and then to put this live into their news feed algorithm. Now, Bishop, I got some things to ask you. I want to go into something else, but we're going to get lost there. So I'm just going to stick with a few questions. I may bring it up while we're in Patreon, but I saw something about 3 weeks ago, and I want to know what you think about this. And everybody put these 3 words in the chat: lab grown meat. LAB grown, GROWN, meat, MEAT. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think about it, but before I tell you what I think about it, Bishop, I want to know what you think about it, because it's just now been done and approved to where this is something that more than likely will show up in our local markets, or at least we can order it on DoorDash or on these apps for that send food to the house. Lab grown meat. What do you think about that?
You know, in the written judgment, I didn't bring one with me tonight, but we talked about in there about the whole situation with the food supply and that people will be off the meat diet for a period of time. This is not something that has just been done. This has been around for a minute. We are in a famine. We are in a time now where food has stopped. We are in a food shortage. You don't hear about it in America because everybody in America just, stuff their face with whatever is, put on the menu. But do you not know a lot of our food in America is not accepted in other countries? And so there's things that are in the quality of our food, fast food, that is not healthy for us. And so, in order to keep people comfortable and safe, there's not enough meat to go around. So, they're manufacturing meat that you won't know that it's not meat. You'll still enjoy it. But
Mhm.
who says that you are eating meat from some of these places? I mean, you could take a burger and keep it around for years, and it doesn't. What's in that burger that does not have it to spoil?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes, this is going to be. Now, there will be science behind it that says this will help the environment. It will keep humans moving around the way they're moving, but get used to it. This is the
Mm.
food of the future, the world of the
Mm.
future. And now that we are going 20, we already started seeing a taste of this. And we talked about this when Pluto goes into Aquarius. Pluto went into Aquarius and then went retrograde on June the 11th. But but between now and they just brought something to me in Written Judgments, Volume 3, Meat Industry. My hand will be seen in a greater dimension than has ever been witnessed before. This was written in 1996. This will be the time that meat industries will come under severe judgment. The day will be upon a generation that will cause men to return to a diet of plants. For the day of meat consumption in the earth will be judged. You will see incurable diseases emerge out of our diets that will cause viruses to sweep the earth. So, what I'm saying to you is our eating is going to have to return back to holy eating, like holy living. And just like we talked about decolonizing your plate, you're going to have to begin to start sanctifying your food. And
Mhm.
this is going to be a call for people that are prophetic to get into health as
Mhm.
to how do we tell our people to eat. We need to have a kosher diet. When you
Mhm.
look at the Levitical priesthood, the Levites were the doctors. They were the one that was telling people the dietary laws, what to eat, what not to eat. It was the job of the preacher or the pulpit to be able to educate the people on how to participate with their plate.
Hmm.
So to keep diseases from moving among the people. And so we will need to begin to consider this because there will be a lot of food that will mess with our genetics.
Mm.
Genetics is this thing that's going to be the thing that is sacred and that aspect of yourself that will keep you alive.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that about the pulpit, and this is the reason why a lot of times I have a problem with uneducated, not well traveled, well read church leadership, because it affects the kind of information you're giving over the pulpit. It is in our
Yeah.
culture to look to the pulpit for answers. And what is coming up in that pulpit is foolishness as it relates to living in this world successfully. So if your leader, this is not Bishop Jordan saying this, if your leader has not been pushing a health agenda over the last 4 years, your leader is not a futurist. And you need to connect with a futurist, someone that is making you ready, mind, body, soul, and money for the future. Otherwise, you aren't going to be ready for the future that is to come. And if we are supposed to be the light of the world and the leaders of that light, then we have to make sure that we are getting what we need to get from those who have been to the future by the Spirit of grace upon their life. And they're sitting here with us, giving us insight. The members of Zoe Ministries, the members of the MBN Network, you're blessed. You may have a leader that you're watching and they're a futurist. But let me tell you, the time of the preacher saying things in the pulpit that become memes, doing these conferences that make people just shout and you just enjoy these things. You guys are in a system and stuck in a system that is not designed for the future, that is going to pass away. And actually, we are attending his funeral right now.
Wow. You know, let me just say this, Larry, and what you said is a mouthful. Education is so critical. Do you not know there are certain professions that must have continual education? I'll just name a few, like healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, pharmacists. They've all have got to continue education. Educators, they've had to have educators continue education just to be educated how to use the pronouns in the classroom and to even deal with a binary culture, right?
Yeah.
Lawyers have got to do continual education. Accountants, because there's new tax laws that comes on the books that needs to be understood. Real estate agents do continual education. Therapists and counselors do continual education.
Mm-hmm.
People in technology, social workers do continual education. Your pastor or leader will be doing at least 75% of these variations of these type of jobs, and they haven't been to school in 5 years, they haven't been to school in 10 years, there's no
Yeah.
continual education going
Yeah.
on. You are at risk of mental malpractice
Mm.
because that means that you're not even in the current. You're not even having the language for the future, which means that here you are in a corporate setting dealing in tomorrow's world, and then you're going back into sanctuary, into prehistoric theology.
Yes.
You having a conflict within your own mental self is dangerous for your children to sit there because there's no advancement. And so
Mm.
continual education is something that it is going to be up to the flock to put the earnest on their leader and say, I hope you're continuing in school because there's questions that we need to know as a community. Like how many people that went through the pandemic and they were like a deer in headlights
Yeah.
because they didn't even know. And yet there were sites where there was communities of certain denominations of leaders that were getting on pastors knowing how to pivot.
Yeah.
And we need another town meeting
Yeah.
as to what does the church of today and tomorrow look like, because guess what, where we were in the sanctuary counting how many seats was filled, we're now in the age of counting empty seats.
Yes.
And
And the
yes, go ahead.
and the reality is this, that the pulpits that did not pivot are dangerous for your spiritual wellness. And their church, there's a fire that is in their church, but it's a consuming fire. I believe that fire is of the Lord, and that the church that is built upon those unpivoted pulpits who have voices of yesterday in it, that church is on fire, and that fire is from the Lord to consume it.
Yeah, because see, what is the pivot for? Number one, to see if you're ready to adapt to change. There's a reason that the cockroach is still around and the crocodile, but the dinosaur is not. It's a reason why rodents are able to stay alive in our major cities. Why is that? Because even though they get poisoned, they're able to eat the poison, and genetically they adapt to the change where that poison of yesterday become their food of today.
Hey,
You see, adapting the change. See, watch this. I want everybody to write this down. Pivot. Where write this down. Where there is the ability to pivot, you'll have sustainability in the future. Where there is the ability to pivot. So many jobs are obsolete. Many of the things that we're doing now is being retired. And so, what did COVID teach us? How to pivot. It taught us to learn from failure,
yes,
because even knowledge has an expiration date.
absolutely.
Watch this. I'm going to say this again. Even worship has an expiration date.
Jesus.
If you go into the supermarket, don't you go and look at milk and you look for the expiration date?
hmm
Even meat has an expiration date. Have you looked at your sermons lately that you've been listening to,
Mm,
and have you looked at the date of the sermon? Everything in life has an expiration date.
Jesus.
Are you eating expired food?
Come
Even
on.
medicine. I looked at some medication the other day. I said, oh, we got to throw all these pills out over here, vitamins. I looked for the expiration date, but many of us don't look at the knowledge we're consuming to see if it has expired, Reid.
Revelation has an expiration date.
Yes, it does.
I listened to preaching, and it had millions of views that was from 30 years ago at Azusa. And people were saying, this is what we need today. I was saying, oh my God, what? Nobody goes in the grocery store and want to eat the food from the expired section except people that are not mentally well. I would dare to say that a lot of the people, some of the people in the pew, are suffering from a mental illness called church brain, and they want to eat expired food so that they can feel as though they have something that is familiar, something that does not require much application or study or research to apprehend or comprehend.
Right.
And that is a mental illness, and it's called church brain.
You
Yeah,
know, Larry, what you're saying here, and I know there's people that say, well, are we saying the Bible has an expiration date? You know what? The Word of God is eternal, but what does have an expiration date is the lens that you look at that Bible through.
absolutely.
Okay? Why? Because there's always new discoveries and new advances. For instance, there's changes in our society and in our culture. Remember when it was a sin for a woman to wear pants, Larry?
Yes.
I came out of that era where women could not wear pants. on a day-to-day basis.
Lipstick.
They could not wear lipstick, and in my church, they could only wear. In the church I came out of, only a little earring that you could barely see in the ear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of that happened, but today, now in 2023, you have women that come to the pulpit in pantsuits.
Yeah. Yeah.
That means that knowledge from 1970, 1980 has expired.
Yeah.
Right? So we begin to look at, are you leading from the future? And
Mm.
are you in a tomorrow's world and
Mm.
leading people forward? And this is why a prophet is necessary in the community to navigate you through the wilderness so you can land in a promised land.
My God. Ladies and gentlemen, hit the like as you are coming in. We're having a conversation with the Archbishop E. Bernard Jordan, Master Prophet, most trusted name in prophecy, America's Black Prophet of God to the whole wide world, and my mentor. So we've had a conversation about lab-grown meat, but we've had so many other conversations that you're going to be gleaning from for a while. But we're going to move from here and go into Patreon. So you need to right now go ahead and sign up to Patreon so you don't miss any, because we can get in Patreon in less than 5 minutes. So you need to go ahead and get prepared to sign up so you can finish this conversation over there. So I want to also ask you another question that's sort of taking us back to the conversation we started to have. It looks like, now, if you didn't know any better and didn't know some of these churches and ministries and talk to the leaders and know really what the numbers are looking like, it looks like that the church now is getting back to normal, to how it was prior to the pandemic. And there are some people, not everybody, but there's some people that are running back into the church. What do you think about this?
Well, first of all, there's two types of churches, Larry. There is the church, the Greek church, the Greek word for church, which is ecclesia.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the other word, which I believe is pronounced Kirkle or Kirkle,
The
which is
German
like
word.
the German word for church, which is like the cathedral in the building. Well, I have sad news for you. The building is technically not the church. It's a structure that housed the ecclesia.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic happened, it never disrupted the ecclesia, but it disrupted the building because it was almost forbidden to gather.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the buildings and all buildings are reopened, we're noticing about a 40 to 50% drop in attendance. And according to Christianity Today, Barna Research, they are tracking that a great number of people are just not returning to church. Now, it used to be a time where it says millennials are the most unchurched, but now they're doing a new research that said those that are 55 years and older, our seniors are now starting to drop out of the church setting. They're no longer finding a need to go into the building. They no longer connect to the youthfulness that is taking place in worship. They can't stand for an hour, on their feet
Yeah.
and sing for an hour on their feet, and then have the preacher get up and it says the only people that are sitting down is the devil, and they're wrestling with stomp on a devil head, and you're made to feel like, well, listen, the next time I get up, it's going to be the benediction, and I'm going out because my feet hurt. So they don't have this kind of relevance. And then some are saying there are songs that they're singing in the church, they just don't connect with them because they've been reared up on hymns. So now here you have a body of people that is looking for their spirituality or their connection through other forms of media.
Yeah.
And media has always changed. We went from the 8-track, this big cassette thing you would stick in the car, to the 33s, 45s, and 78s, the records, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, to the cassette tape, the cassette tape,
Mm-hmm.
down to the CD, now MP3, and now music and everything. is coming through where you can get it for free. So what am I saying here? The word is eternal, but the media it moves through keeps changing.
Yeah.
We've now got to look at the media in which we need to begin to bring the gospel through in order
Mhm.
to reach them. Jesus says, I will make you fishers of men. So
Yeah.
therefore, it's important for you to know where men are swimming so
Hmm.
that you will know where to fish for them. And you got to become as them to gain them. So the church that we're looking at today, our buildings are empty, but the church is still open. Now, let me just speak this prophetically. Many people will have to find a sacred use for their building. Some of your buildings will no longer be used for people to gather and worship, but maybe your building will be used as a food pantry. That's an open for worship in your community. Or maybe your building will be opened up as a health center
Hmm.
where people can go from 5 days a week and come and get their blood pressure checked and see a doctor or a counseling center. Or maybe your building, for those of you that have real estate and securities in your area, maybe they will take and build apartments above the structures of that building. And therefore, it begins to have a greater need in the community. I'm telling pastors now, get your prayer warriors together and find out what is the sacred use of this building for ministry so that this church can be relevant in its generation.
Absolutely. Oh, that I think that sufficiently answers my question. My question as relates to the church post pandemic, which really is pre another pandemic. I and I was having this conversation with some. I know a few pastors who are putting chandeliers in walls and things of that nature, and I celebrate those things, but not probably the way that they celebrate it because they really want to do. You guys done a great job, Bishop. Your generation of influence the next generation and even the next generation after that to want to build something for God, get people in there to worship, get people, have a good time and see deliverance and people saved at church. And a lot of those young people are so enamored and have been so affected by the work that you guys have done that that's what they feel like they're supposed to be doing. And they're doing it without any awareness or clarity concerning the future and where this may go. So I had a conversation with someone. I was telling them, look, okay, I'm not telling you stop doing that. I'm not going to tell you stop doing that. But what I want you to do is to understand the move of God and the mind of God as relates to his people and the model
Mhm.
that he first breathed. When the pandemic came and we all went online, we basically all went back to the original church because we were thrown in our houses.
Okay, so that is so prophetic, Larry, because what I want to say about that is that my generation was the super Walmart, super Targets, super Depots, right? But before that, there was mom and pop. We are now moving from super Walmarts, super Targets, super Home Depot, back to mom and pops. Where is the new mom and pop at now? Not a new mom and pop store, a new mom and pop home store that you're doing it through your Amazon, your eBay, and all these different types of areas. So now, what is ministry looking like? It's taking it from this person that was the prince in the pulpit
Hmm.
to someone sitting at their dining room table with rollers in their head saying, we're going to turn to the Bible tonight.
I know that's right.
So it's going from the super Target where we were paying millions of dollars to be in a structure back to mom and pop. And
Mhm.
we're in the first century church where they went from house to house breaking bread.
That's
And
right.
I tell people, I says that I talked to one person that says, I go to this church at 9 o'clock The singing be good. I get over here to hear the word over on this other church at 10. I go back to this other church because they're just starting and their worship is good. And then I go to this particular preacher because he's going to dump the house at that time. And I sit there and says, well, you're online, but you're still church hopping.
Yeah.
You're just doing it in a mom and pop shop.
Hmm.
So we are in an age now where the culture has changed. I mean, look at, you almost have got to make yourself look at cable television because there's so many other networks to look at.
Yeah.
Netflix, Hulu, Stars, Amazon. I mean,
Zeus.
there's so many other shows that you can't even, BET Plus. I mean, there's so many other places that are grabbing for your attention. Then you're online. So we are in an age of over information overdrive.
Yeah.
So the word you give not only
Mm.
has to be relevant,
Mm.
but it has to be a word
Mm.
that meets the culture of its day and satisfy the appetite of that culture, that it quenches that person's thirst.
Yeah. With that being said, you said you gotta how media has changed. Really, media. I remember doing a teaching at your event. I done the science of social media, and talked about the word media and medium, and the medium through which we are using right now to get the word and to get information to you is going to do nothing but continue to be the medium through which you receive your spiritual sustenance. And I like how you just said, Bishop, how it has to be so, it has to meet several different needs. And this is why I tell people all the time that if you're coming online to do what you did in your church and think you're going to hold somebody's attention, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Because when you're in the digital space, you have to meet more than just that spiritual sustenance need. You have to also meet their visual need, their auditory need, and then their need for entertainment. This is why it was such a shocker to me for how God used Larry Reid Live platform to build the church. I was like, wait, I'm being a critic. But then when I began to look at certain industries and certain mediums and institutions and systems, God have always used critics to bring the best out of certain systems and institutions and really to keep them current with the culture. So I hope that you guys are listening to our preachers and pastors and you hate online. Find somebody in your congregation who has that thing on them that can use this medium and be an extension of what you guys are doing.
Yes. And with this, and that's why I'm praying that you do a media conference, Larry, because you have been one of the real forerunners on how to use media as a transformative slash entertainment slash provocative slash prophetic. Because, see, the prophet becomes the cultural critic, right? And the prophet didn't so much just criticize the world, but
Mhm.
criticize Israel concerning
Mm.
the way that they even handled the world that they were living in.
Wow.
And so we got to begin to look at this self reflection. You know, am I relevant? I think that's a question that one should ask. Am I
Mm.
relevant? Is my worship relevant? Is my language relevant?
Is my business relative?
Is my business relevant? Is the text that I'm taking and preaching, am I preaching expired knowledge?
Ah,
Am I going to the pulpit to preach about people's sex life, or am I going to the pulpit to awake people to righteousness?
mm. Mm.
Am I going to have a sin-filled gospel, right? Because watch this, whatever you fight, you ignite.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to talk about fornication, adultery, then you might as well show pornography in your church, because when you use those terms, you put images in people's minds. They're
Yes.
going to gravitate towards it like a magnet. Preach Christ and Him crucified. How did your sermon about Christ end up becoming about sexual positions that you should not
Hmm.
be in? And the Bible does, I mean, the mind does not register not. So if I tell you, don't see an elephant, Larry, what did you just see?
Elephant. Instantly.
Right. You see it instantly. Don't look at that girl. What did you just do?
I looked at him.
Looked at him, right? Don't look at that nude body. What did you just do?
You're gonna look at the new body. You're gonna see it in your head at least.
Exactly. You see it in your head, which means that the sin you preach about is the sin you create in the minds of your people, and
Yeah.
they get transformed into the image of what you just preached, because the brain does not register don't.
Yes. Absolutely. The sin you preach about, you bring about.
You bring about.
Oh my God. All right. I got some more questions. I know y'all are enjoying this, but you're getting to eavesdrop on the conversation that I'm so privileged to have with one of God's best. All right. So I got some other questions I want to ask. Affirmative action has just been, shot down, Bishop. It has been shot down on the Supreme Court level. It means so many different things naturally, politically, um, even as it relates to these different jobs. The next day, 5 women were basically let go, Black women from very high positions in the entertainment industry. So, what did you think and feel when you heard about affirmative action being no longer supported for Blacks? Because that's really what it was, for Blacks.
You know what? I know this is going to sound harsh,
Okay.
but just hear me for a moment.
Hmm.
It's time for us to get off the breast of the system.
Ooh, wait a minute, Bishop.
Yes, it's time for us to get off the breast of the system. So when we begin to understand consciousness, and I've been going through all the teachings of my mentor, Reverend Ike, and it was supposed to be just the month of June, but I'm gonna probably be teaching it for the next year. I pulled up every lesson that Reverend Ike has given me. I've gone back over and I've got hundreds of his tapes. I have recordings of his that no one has heard. I've had conversations from him. And I duplicated his library. As you've seen my library.
Mhm.
Every book that was in his library, I took it over time. It took me years to do it. I duplicated because I wanted the mind of this man. Now, I get it that we as Black people in America, we've had a ball and chain on our feet for 400 years, and now we're told to keep up. Um, on the one hand, I think college education for African Americans should be free in this nation. And I'm gonna
Mhm.
tell you the reason I personally believe it. And I get that the Asians was fighting against this or whatever the situation was going on. I get it, and I get that you're a minority. But in America, no one was. It was not against the law for any other ethnic group to read and write but African Americans.
Yeah.
And because of that sin alone, that
Mhm.
dehumanizing of reading and writing, college should be free
Absolutely.
for every African American to make just literacy right.
Yes.
And they should be given, and they should say to the agent says, we got it, you are here, you are minorities, but you would never deny the opportunity to read. You were not hung for writing.
Yes.
Their ancestors were. And if they can prove that their ancestry came through, that's in their bloodline, I think it's the right of America to begin to say college and education. If you want to be a doctor, you have a full ride until you can accomplish that. these college universities are like hedge funds. They have billions of dollars. They could afford to do that as a healing journey part coming forward.
Hmm.
I think the other sad part is that we have a Supreme Court justice that is there that benefited from affirmative action
Hmm.
and voted against it, which shows something else in the nature of us as African American people, that when we get on top, we forget about those we left behind.
Hmm.
Okay. And that means that all of a sudden, you forget, and this happened with mayors in our cities, a few governors that we've had, and even to the point that we squint in our eyes to find out what is it that President Obama did for us as African American people, right?
Hmm.
And so when we get into these positions, we don't, we forget the people we came from to see, can we make that change? Now, I get it. You can't make that change by yourself, but at least you can go down shouting for the change and possibly be the voice that provoke the systems to be that says no more. On the positive side, with this negative that has taken place, I think it's time for us to go into our own businesses. I think it's time for us to begin to network together and pull together our own systems
Hmm.
and begin to affirm ourselves by beginning to learn how to network and collaborate and strengthen one another. Okay?
Hmm.
You came into what you came into, Larry, not through affirmative action, but you came into what you came into through consciousness.
Yeah.
And you begin to be conscious as a being. And as a result, you are awakened.
Hmm.
And so I think that this is an hour to begin to look at in a moment. I don't think it matters to us one way or the other. I think we've already got the goods and the tools within our own community
We do.
that we can begin to build and exceed the setup that they've had for us. Because coming through these PWI institutions have really pulled the Black soul out of the individual. It has whitened them that when they get into positions of power, they forget who they were.
Yeah. Take our blackness into into their institutions, and then whitewash our soul. Yeah, and that
You- Jesus said, if I wash you, I'll make you whiter than snow. And and many of us have become whiter
yeah.
than the whites that are.
Yes.
And it's really sad. And then you find your elite blacks,
Hmm.
your black elites, end up sitting in white run churches,
Hmm.
right? That begin to say things like, we don't see color. Well,
Yeah.
that is a dog whistle saying we don't see color. They're saying we don't see black.
Exactly.
You got to really understand that. When they say we don't see color, that means everything is white.
That's right.
And so we sit in those places and give our tithes and our offerings. And in the process of that, you weaken your own community
Yes.
because you could be empowering those that look like you and that preaches a theology that can be relevant not only
Yes.
to your culture, but to the existence of the future of your people, and yet you choose to ignore that and
Yeah.
circulate your dollars outside of the community.
I 100% believe that a black Christian sitting in a white ran church is in an unsafe environment. I feel the same way as it relates to women and some other communities as well. But since we're talking about black, the black dollar belongs in a black ran church. Your taruma should go to a black man as a black person. Your tithe should go to a black house and not the White House. That is how it should go. And if you are a white Christian and you really ain't racist and you really understand the sin of slavery and racism in this world as a follower of Jesus Christ, you will take your white dollars, your white tithe, and your white teruma and put in the hands of a black man.
Yeah, because you start realizing, acknowledging there is a problem in our system. And you know what? There'll be those that says, well, I wasn't responsible, but you did reap the benefit. And
Yes.
if you begin to look at the salary structures of many of the jobs that you're on and look at what you're paid and look at what your black counterparts are paid, you begin to see the disparity. You begin to understand, white privilege is very real. Now,
Yeah.
the question is, how can I make a difference? Right?
Mhm.
And you can make a difference by joining with those that are somewhat in quote unquote the struggle, but not in the victimization, because I'm not a victim. Larry is not a victim. We're
Mhm.
not victims, and we're not speaking from a platform of victim like we need.
Right.
But we want to speak from the platform of being awoke. So watch this.
Yes.
Here's a prophetic word right now for those that are in Florida. There's a leader in Florida that have seemingly have made critical race theory a problem. Now, you can sit and look at it and say, that's the devil. Or you can say it's an opportunity. What is the opportunity for churches in Florida? For churches in Florida, it's an opportunity to say, let's pull all the black pastors together in Florida and the whites that would like to join us. And we're going to have classes on Saturday and daytime classes. You'll have to read and do papers where we're going to teach you about Black history from 1619 up until now.
Yes.
And make Sunday morning a part of the service for a half hour. You teach critical race theory because they cannot legislate what the church teach,
Come on.
right? It needs to be a call to black pastors across the country.
Yeah.
Let's get our black theologians, our black professors,
Mhm.
those that are the historians of our time. And let's create an online network where we're educating black pastors concerning some of the black leaders in the community. What was happening in the antebellum South? What was happening then through Jim and Jane Crow? Let's talk about the civil rights movement. Let's talk about how slaves was here, well, black people was here as indentured servants. Let's
Yeah.
talk about black people that were never enslaved
Yeah.
that survived in America. Let's go through this history. And guess what? Take our Sunday school and get the white Jesus off the cover and teach your history in your church.
Yeah.
And it's no different than what Jews do in synagogues. And
Yes.
if we would begin to take that on as a community, you give people a reason to come back into a building.
Absolutely. And that would be a great reason because the church should be a place where people come to get prepared to be the greatest version of themselves and use their gifts to impact and change the world. So it really turned the churches back into a releasing center and a training center for people to come and hone their gifts and then go and impact the world.
And then we have people that are moving out of places like New York, moving out of some of the big cities because they can't afford to live. Now, listen to this, Larry. And there's another migration going on right now. What is happening? They're moving out of these blue states into these red states where they're taking them out of the fire right into the oven because they're going to have no representation
Mhm.
in the education. They're going to be not able to get their children educated correctly in terms of how they appear in the world, and they'll have no representation in politics. So we now need a place where the church needs an educated leader
Yeah.
to educate its people And the thing that and I've always said this and I've learned this, is the thing that kept the children of Israel in bondage was not the Egyptian system. But the thing that kept the children of Israel in bondage was that there was no Moses that had arose among them. When Moses began to arise, it will bring about the gathering of a people that will build a system that will be sustainable for the humanity of our people in the United States of America.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I got a few more questions that I want to ask Bishop, but we told you guys that we were going to be moving into Patreon. But before we move into Patreon, I want to ask Bishop one last question. But before I ask him this question, I want to play this video and give you an invitation to what is about to be happening here in Miami on next week.
Are you ready to level up? Join Larry D. Reid for the Reformation Experience Mystics in Miami, July 14th through the 16th in Miami, Florida. This is a Patreon member-only event. Register now by visiting patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. The Reformation Experience Mystics in Miami, July 14th through the 16th. For more information, log on to thereformationexperience.com.
All right, I want to invite you to Reformation Experience 2023. This is the last time that we are going to be bringing all of the patrons from around the world together in an annual event. We're going to be splitting it up from 2024 to 2025. We're going to be jumping around our country and other countries as well. I want to invite you to come, and this is how you can come. Join Patreon tonight. This is where the conversation is going to continue with my mentor. But when you join, pinned to the top of the message feed is a registration link. I want you there on that Sunday morning. I want you to come there Sunday morning. I'm going to be there. Bishop is going to be there as well. He will have words on that Sunday morning. And then there are going to be so many other people that are going to be coming around from around the world, and we all going to be dressed in our white. There ain't nothing prettier than a bunch of niggas in white. So we're going to be coming in our white on Sunday morning, and I want you to become a part. Listen, it's because of you that this platform has been able to do all of what it does. And this is an event that we give back to about 125 patrons. They're going to be coming. They want just only thing I got to do is just show up. But then there are others that are going to be coming. We have 2 events during the week that you can meet us at. Go ahead and come. And if you're going to come, you say, I don't have a room. I only can fly myself there, drive down. I have something set up for about 50 of you on Friday, 45 of you on Saturday if you're coming in, where I can get you in the same hotel where the event is happening for half of the price that they will charge you. So go ahead and join Patreon. Click that link. Let us know that you are coming. And in that post, I tell you what you need to do if you need a room, because I want you to be there. Okay, Bishop, I'm with my mentor.
Now, Larry, I just want to say something here. There's about 1,000 people watching right now.
2,331 on YouTube and Facebook.
Then this is what I want them to do. I want to get 1,000 people, because see, something happens when people move together as one and as a unit, right? There's something that happens as a unit. And I want to get 1,000 people to just do a $120 seed, 1,000 people to do a 120 seed. Because I believe that as we're in the second half of this year, it's ready to launch us into something that's going to be greater. And what's going to take place in their life is going to create an opening, because the floor is going to be open in the spirit realm for people to begin to take on initiative and do things that they've never done before. And so I want you to begin to get 1,000 individuals to do a 120 seed. Why am I asking for 120? Well, 120, we know that Moses lived for 120 years. We know that in the upper room, there was 120 that was in the upper room. We began to look at Noah. He preached for 120 years. 120 has a spiritual significance, and I see 120 as the end of all flesh and the beginning of spirit. There's some things that you've been doing that has been a work of your flesh, but you need now the work of the spirit to be infused. Some of you are going to get ideas about jobs. You're going to get ideas about new kind of work, what kind of service you can begin to produce. That what you used to make in a week, you're going to start making in a day. What you used to make in a day, you're going to start making in an hour. Something that's getting ready to accelerate. We are looking at things happening with artificial intelligence. The way the world is being ran is different than the way the world has been run 5 years ago. There is something that is sitting in you as a significant gift that is going to open up for you right now. I want you right now to start doing the seed of 120, and I want you to put a prayer with it, an intention. Lord, give me an idea for a job. Give me an idea of a service. Give me something I need to study that's going to begin to create sustainability for the future. They're putting up the ways to give right now. I'm asking for 1,000 individuals. That means I'm asking for half of you right now to participate. Now, when the oil was given, there was 5 wise and 5 foolish. So 50. There'll be 50% that will operate and move in wisdom. And there will be the other 50% that will watch things happen. There are two kinds of people in the world. There are those that make things happen, and then there's those that watch things happen.
Yeah.
You're going to either make it happen today, or you're going to just sit on the sideline and watch things happen. See,
Yeah.
there's those that make things happen, and then there's those that watch things happen. Are you watching it happen, or are you getting the $120 seed and making it happen? And if you're just watching things happen, then that means that you possibly are clueless because you don't even know what's happening. So
Mm.
I am asking you right now to begin to take that step of faith to do the $120 seed. They have the ways to give by way of Zelle, PayPal. Let's leave it up for them for a moment. Text to give, Cash App, and do that. Now, those of you that have businesses, those of you that are entrepreneurs, you know 120 is not a stretch for you. Then I'm going to ask you to go ahead and to make a step of $1,200 seed right now. I want you to go ahead and do the $1,200 seed. When you do that, just know that something has got to open up for my business.
Yeah.
Something's got to open up for my way of being, right? Something, if you know that you're destined in life to be a millionaire, or you are already a millionaire, or you believe that God has blessed you in such a way that you're going to be a blessing to others, you're going to be a philanthropist, you're going to be able to give away millions for the glory of God. I want you to go ahead and do the $1,200 seed on
Yeah.
tonight. Remember, the seed leaves your hand, but it
Mm.
never leaves your life. Let me
Yeah.
say it again. The seed that you have leaves your hand, but it never leaves your life. The seed that you have right now, it does no good in your hand. Your
Mhm.
hand is not a proper environment to grow that seed. You're looking at the ways to give right now, they got plants there. That plant could not sprout and grow if it was held in a hand, but it could only grow if it is put into a
I
soil.
need my other.
The
Bishop.
MBN network is the soil that would
Mhm.
allow your dream to sprout if you do that in faith right now.
Jesus.
You want to say something, Dr. Reid?
Yes, yes. There's so much I can say on that because there are people who've been watching Larry live since I was in t-shirts on the floor with 159 people living in my home and where I am now. And the key, along with the coach and mentorship, is the seed. And I know $120 may sound like a little bit to others, maybe a lot. but that little tiny seed in it is your future. And those of you that are doing this seed, I want you to make sure in the memo section, put your phone number and then put LRL, just those 3 letters, so that we can call you and thank you for your seed. And we have 5 prophets that are going to call you, pray with you, and then give you the word of the Lord. And they will be with you pretty quickly. You're probably going to hear from them by Friday at least. And they take their time and minister the word of the Lord to you. Now, the seed, Bishop, when they sow the seed, their faith mixed with it, but then there's also an action that they may need to follow up with that seed, especially if they believe in God or believing that this seed is the beginning of something different for their business or for their life. Will somebody sow the $120 seed and maybe they need to sit and write out ideas, or maybe they should enroll back in school, or what?
Yes. So what I want you to do right now, and there's a reason why I'm asking for the 120 or the 1200, because I want you to write down right now on a piece of paper 12 things you want God to do in your future now. 12 things, just 12. Just write 12 things down. And it can start out with something simple as um, I am looking for health, right? Number 2, I am looking for a restored family, you know. Number 3, I'm looking for an expansion of income, right? Number 4, I'm looking for the right lifetime partner or soulmate. Number 5, I'm looking for a business partner. I want you to take this, because right now this is a meditative time. This is actually worship. You could not have really a prayer without a sacrifice. So the sacrifice is in communion with what you're praying for. Also, I want you to think about the prophetic words that have been spoken. God promised me greatness. I want to see greatness start to spark in my life this year. I want to turn the corner for greatness. I want to have X amount of dollars in my bank account by next year this time. I want you to begin to have a picture in mind. Why? Because when you go to the store and you purchase seeds, notice that every seed contains a photograph. Every seed has a picture on it, that if you plant that seed in the right environment, that is what's going to grow from that particular seed. So just like if you see this plant here, you can look and say, oh, do I want that color in my garden? You got a picture of it. And so you have purchased that seed. You have gotten those seeds because you're going to plant it in the right soil and in the right environment at the right time under the right condition, so
Yes.
that it will begin to grow like the picture that
Yes.
is on the package. Your seed has an invisible photograph locked in. It is genetically rewired. So right now, as you're getting the $120 seed or the $1,200 seed right now, something that is in the DNA, the genetics of the seed of faith that you're sowing.
Yeah.
Because remember, faith is now faith, not tomorrow faith. You got to do this now. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. That means there's got to be a thing in mind. You got to get a picture.
A picture.
It's got to be a picture in your mind. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Now watch it. And it's the evidence of
It's not
things that are
seen.
not seen. I can't see it.
Yeah.
So I can't see the job. I
Yeah.
can't see the house. I can't see
Mhm.
the car. I can't see the business partnership. I can't see the relationship I'm supposed to
Mhm.
come into. I can't see the exponential money that I'm supposed to be making. I can't see the new business opportunity that's opening. I can't see that open door, but it's the evidence of things that are not seen, but it's
Mhm.
evidence that is there, although I can't see it with the natural eye, but I see it with my spiritual eye. That's the
Yes.
reason I sow the seed. So
Right.
I
And
want,
I want to say something, and Commissioner's on a roll, and really the spirit is just on him. When this man tell you to sow, trust me, May 2019 had $1,200 sold 1,000, and from that day to this one, I have been sowing, 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 sowing. Why? Because it gives seed to the sower. let me say this. In Patreon, it is in our community that when we hear a word of faith, you have heard Bishop say some things, a prophetic word, faith without works is dead. And that's plural there. The first work that you do after hearing a word of faith is sowing your seed. And then the second thing that Bishop is telling you to do, another work to add to your faith, is writing 12 things. These things do on your altar. And 12 is a gubernatorial number that means authority. And I believe that as little as $1,200 is, as little as $120 is, that seed, it was 1,000 that I sowed. And they was quoting Deuteronomy 1 and 11. It was 1,000 I sold, and it turned into multiple $1 million idea. So do the work, because you heard the word of prophecy, the word of faith. The first work is sowing your seed. The second work is writing those 12 things down. And when you sow, put your phone number and LRL in the memo so that we can call you. And there are people who are already moving right now, Bishop, and beginning to sow. I see on PayPal, Tasia Matthews, Lynn Hicks. These are all 120. Francis Lynn Hicks, Ivory Richardson, 120. Archbishop, no, excuse me. That's not Archbishop. Karina, 120. Trinity Kids Learning Center, $1,200. Her number's in there. With their number in there, we're going to be calling in. Tamara
Well,
Evans.
watch this, Prophet. I'm Larry.
Say it again.
The
Trinity Kids Learning Center.
the learning center.
Yeah.
When you call that out, right? I saw something doubling, and I saw a building coming to them. Something's going to happen favorable, whoever that is, in the area of real estate. It's almost like this year they need to get ready for real estate. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but this is the way it's coming to, and says to tell them, stop worrying about the water situation, because whatever this is, God is beginning to move them away from a flood zone into a blessed promise of a space. And that's the word of the Lord.
Wow.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy how the eye gets open when people start moving in faith? Wow. Constance Dow, that's who it was. She's one of our partners, and she's definitely one of our partners. I see what it is. Okay, and also Monica Keys, 120. Karina, Purdue Janitorial Services, 120. Ursula Brown, Candace Gaston, Celeste Murray, Tiffany Edwards, Melissa Pierce. All of these are 120.
And you know, every name that you called there, Larry, a picture kept coming up quickly with each one of their 120s. It's like I just saw a picture. Something I think you just mentioned somebody's name about four names ago. Go back 4 names if you can there. Can you?
Okay, well, hold on. Let me go right back. Celeste Murray, Candace Gatson, Tiffany.
Candace. Candace needs to be watchful about a trip that she's taken. And I don't know why I'm supposed to tell Candace she can't travel with just anybody.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, wow.
So watch this. When the seed is sown,
it's sight in the seed. SEED.
Larry, listen, we're going to get into this in Patreon. Because, see, I'm telling you something. People don't realize it. A lot of times I couldn't help myself when I would go in church. I said, everybody just get in line with your seed. And they said, he's prophesying for money. No, it's that your money contains a picture.
That's right. A picture. If you look at when you buy the seeds, my mom used to do this all the time. The petunias, Lord Jesus, and when she buy the seeds, on the front of the seed was a picture. You're getting the seed. There's sight in the seed, and the seed sees the future that it has the potential of producing.
There's a person right now with a construction business that did the 120, but it was supposed to be 1,200.
Yeah.
Righteous. And something has slowed up in their contracts for the last 90 days. And everything is like hanging in the balance. It's like low-hanging fruits. If they would participate with the 1,200, by September, they're going to try to find you to give you the testimony of what broke open for them as a result of the seed. See, the seed eliminates the need.
Oh,
Keep your seed, keep your need.
hey.
Sow your seed, eliminate the need.
And when you sow your seed, don't betray your seed. How can I betray? Bishop, give us some examples of betraying our seed.
Number one, digging up your seed and talking about having regret for sowing it.
Yeah.
That's number one. Another thing is to begin to say the seed doesn't work.
Yeah.
The seed is always working because God is not mocked. Whatsoever man or a woman or a mind sows, that shall
Yes.
they also reap.
Uh,
You betray your seed by being in circles or environments that don't speak the same word of faith that you're speaking around the seed.
oh my God. Not being in the atmosphere conducive for that particular seed that you sowed to germinate, to grow. I'm writing a book for patrons only called Seed Betrayal. And I'm doing it in conjunction with one of my sons. Bishop, I would love for you to jump in on that writing because there are a lot of people who sow. They hear the word of faith. Faith without works is dead. First work is the seed. Now you've given us a working to do 12 steps. The number 12 is a powerful number. But
Mhm.
then there are other things that whenever you sow that you need to put into place so that the seed, you can see the seed manifest as it is. Yeah.
And see, when you start looking at seed betrayal, watch this. It could be looked at as seed infidelity,
Mm.
where you begin to engage in another relationship other than God, than where you need to be at with the seed. And so, therefore, when you are in having infidelity, I've got to stay in the environments that keeps me faithful to what I am sowing for. So this way, I don't have seed betrayal. Amen. Because see, if you talk negative about money, you're talking negative about my harvest.
Come
If you
on.
speak negative about preachers that collect money, then I cannot afford to be in your midst because now you're trying to get me into friendship betrayal.
Mm.
In betrayal of friendship, which means I'm acting against the best interest of the priest that is in my life. And so watch this. The enemy come to steal, kill, and destroy. The enemy will come in to try to get you to betray your priests
Yes.
or to have seed betrayal so it will abort the seed.
Absolutely.
Make sure you get away from those that will cause you to abort the seed by failing in your commitment to even the
Mhm.
pledge of the seed.
Yeah.
When you don't fulfill the pledge, you have just betrayed the seed.
Yeah. It's better to not make a vow than to make one and then don't keep it. The priest that is in your ear sets your year. And it's important that you do not allow anyone to betray the priest in your ear and the seed that you sowed and you put into the ground. It is amazing to me. Let me tell you something about Bishop Jordan that I found out. When Bishop Jordan asks for a seed and you have the capacity to do it and you follow through with that seed, there's magic in that reciprocity that you activate, but because it is a prophet, the only office that we see where there's prosperity connected to it and giving. You know, a lot of you give to your pastors, but I only see in the text where a priest receiving and a prophet receiving, then you receive a prophet's reward. So when this man of God asks you to sow a seed, just step out on faith and then do all of the things that we've mentioned here and then give it time and let us know what happens. Anyone that has ever done this has never seen God not keep his word.
God is faithful to his word. The Bible says that when jot or tittle of my word fail, heaven and earth will pass away. I want those right now. You're either doing a 120 seed or you're doing a $1,200 seed. Now, if it is a challenge to sow the seed, that's a seed that gets a quick answer. Larry shared about when he sowed his $1,000 seed and he had there's about nothing left over, just enough to get home.
200.
He had to wrestle with a battle in his mind because this was all he had. And I remember those days with Larry. Um, I won't tell his business, but Larry was living a very interesting life. The studio was not the way it was. And I said, "This all right. We're gonna coach. We're gonna get to." And I watched him grow and stretch. I watched him stretch in his giving.
Yeah.
I watched him play the principle of seed time and harvest. I
Yeah.
watched him put God to the test. And the next thing I know, where he was down to just one vehicle, barely getting along, to being able to choose whatever vehicle he wanted to have in
Yeah.
life. And he followed the principles that he started demonstrating what my mentor started teaching, Reverend Ike, saying you can do what you want to do. You can be what you want to be. You can have what you want to have. And what we began to say is that if you can see it, you can be it. If you
Yeah.
can think it up, you can think it down. And when you start understanding this, and that accompanied with the seed, then you know the harvest is due you.
Yeah.
The next thing I know, he moved out of this one bedroom that he was in, a shared apartment,
Mm-hmm.
to across the street. I remember when the stretch was coming and he didn't have no furniture for his children,
That's
and they
right.
would come in to live for him. And it is a story that just hasn't been told to the
Mm-hmm.
degree that it needs to be told. Talk about watching a man walk and practice his faith
Yeah.
in the midst of crises.
Yeah.
This is not some
Right.
mumbo jumbo. This is not no hocus pocus. This is all about getting seed focus. And
It
when you
is.
get seed focus, you start to realize that the seed work, you now move into the joy of giving.
Oh
It
God.
becomes the celebration of the seed.
Yeah.
So when I talk about the seed, you hear the excitement in my life. Why? Because when I sow the seed, I am in an expected harvest.
Yeah.
I just got through last week having to sow a bunch of seeds. So, someone gave me a brand new car. They pulled together and gave me a brand new car.
Yeah.
A truck I was getting ready to get by the end of last month, it showed up.
Yeah.
And so I had to go and get the tithe and offering unto God and give that because it was a benefit.
Yeah.
And lately, Larry, the thing I've been preaching to a lot of our entrepreneurs and different people in our congregation that have these high-end jobs, I said, some of you have tithed your salary, but you haven't tithed from your benefits. The
Mm.
Bible said he loads you daily with benefits. Some
Yeah.
of your benefit packages is larger than your salary. I have
That's true.
people coming up to me and says, I have stock options in my company that I've never tithed off of. I says, and that's why you living at a higher level of struggle
Mm.
because you have not celebrated the first fruit of all things.
Oh, higher level of struggle.
Yeah,
Oh my
you just
God.
broke at a new level.
Oh
And
God.
when we get with Patreons this evening, I want to share just a little bit about that. But
Yeah.
you just broke at a higher level. You just at a higher level of strain. You just go from one payroll to another, but you're not really seeing surplus.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say this: when sowing, we have the financial wellness plan and Patreon. One of the things that the financial wellness plan did, which is number one, all increase 2.5% to my personal profit, my coach, chief inspirer in my life. Second part, that's the mouth of God, then the house of God, the tithe. And then it goes on and on. One of the things that the financial wellness plan did for me and giving, what I'm going to say properly, which may not be a good word, it caused me to get in a different kind of consciousness and relationship with my money. Some of you are sowing and you're giving, but there's no management when money needs management. And in Patreon and with the right coach, you can begin to put certain things into place to where you will see an increase in 12 months. That's what happened to me. And I began to see the increase happen days later. But that's what happened to me, and it still happens to me. And I know it can happen to anybody because my budget was $2,000. What I needed to make to pay my bills a month was $2,000. Then it went to $3,000. Bishop, I remember you asking me, how much do you need to make a month? And didn't I not say $3,000?
Yep, I remember that.
Yes, I can't even believe that. I mean, and this was just yesterday. This was 2018, maybe 19. 2018. That is amazing. That is amazing.
But you see, what that did, Larry, in that moment is that it got you to reflect on your money beliefs. We had to do some work in your own money beliefs, what you believed about money.
Yeah.
And so when you examine your beliefs around money, then you look at your attitudes about money.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain cars you wouldn't even go near to even look at
That's true.
because of your belief about money.
That's true.
But once we got you delivered from limited beliefs, you started expanding your expectation.
Yeah.
Even down to the way you're doing your conferences. You're doing your conferences at a high level, at a high end.
Yeah.
This is not a regular church conference that you do.
Yeah. It's true.
You know, we're not going to be going to a conference and running for seats, right? We're
Right.
not going to be going to a conference and, you know, the quality.
At the Ramada.
Yes. You know,
Yeah.
but it's a conference that it is intimate, but yet you're touching with individuals and celebrities. It's not like they're hiding from you.
Yeah.
It is a space that is a clearing,
Yeah.
and that no one is starstruck,
Yeah.
but everybody gets who is in the room. And guess what? We see you.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
You get there, probably a personal word there.
Now that's
For
true. That
you.
happens.
Yes, the word of the Lord begins to flow. They have prophets here.
Yeah.
And so when we begin to understand this, when you come into a new level and watch, as you're sowing the seed, I want you to practice mindfulness. What is your expectation around the seed? I want you to look at it. So as you get your $1,200 seed or your $120 seed, I'm looking for 1,000 people to do 120. 1,000 people to do a $120 seed now, not because you want to, do it because you can. Do it because I choose to. And let it be, I choose prosperity today. That's why I'm doing the 120 seed. I'm doing the 120 seed because I choose blessing. I've been blessed by what I heard today. I'm doing the 120 seed. Let this begin to open the door. Or I'm doing the $1,200 seed. Let this open up the door for my business. Let it expand my consciousness. I feel a peace around it, although I feel restless around it, but I'm going to fight through the restlessness and let the seed have its way and go into my future. Because the seed, it leaves my hand, but it never departs from my life.
And that is it. You guys, we're about to go over into Patreon. I have a question that I want to ask. I'm going to ask in Patreon around the housing market. I saw something released today, Bishop, yesterday. And for the first time in 11 years, Patreon, you know what we dealt with on Sunday with the 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. For the first time in 11 years in the U.S., home prices have decreased.
Yeah.
And you released a word on the platform in 2020 about keys being in the street. And I want to talk to you about it, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to do it in Patreon. In about 8 minutes, we're going to be live in Patreon. So this is the way that you can join us in Patreon. The way that you can join us in Patreon is going right now to patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. When you sign up, don't use your Facebook profile to sign up. Use your email address and sign up. We're going to be over there. Patrons, there's already patrons. You good, because we're about to drop the link and you're going to see it. Now, remember, if you want to come to the conference Sunday morning, I'm telling you, it's always explosive. It's always magical and anointed. I want you to come. I want you to be there, but you have to be a patron. So go ahead and sign up, become a patron tonight, and then meet me in Miami. I'm already here. I have to leave, though, and come right back because my best friend's father died. And his father was my pastor. And him and his wife took me in when my parents didn't understand why I wanted to be baptized in Jesus' name so bad. And so, it was his daddy that baptized me in Jesus' name. So
Wow.
I'm going to be at that funeral. It is my best friend. I will be there now and everywhere he go. But he I don't know what's up that he like, no. He told me I didn't even have to come to the funeral. I said, are you for real? I'm going. He said, I know how you are. I said, yeah, but there's only one Shamako Brand, and I'm gonna be right there. And so because I will be there now. Everything he's doing, I will be right there. But he's now the patriarch of his family. So he's standing on his own. I've trained him well as a mentor. I'm his best friend too, but as a mentor, I train him well. He'll be fine. I'll see him when I get there. So y'all definitely keep his family in prayer, cause it wasn't like he's been sickly, but he was okay. But he just has something to occur. He died suddenly, and they found him dead. So that kind of shock is interesting, and so keep Shamako and his family in prayer. But we're about to meet you over there in Patreon, patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. We'll see you in just a bit, and go ahead and become a part so that you can meet me here.
Are you ready to level up? Join Larry D. Reid for the Reformation Experience Mystics in Miami, July 14th through the 16th in Miami, Florida. This is a Patreon member-only event. Register now by visiting patreon.com/Larry Reid Live. The Reformation Experience Mystics in Miami, July 14th through the 16th. For more information, log on to thereformationexperience.com.